el derecho de vivir. Poeta Ho Chi Minh, que golpea de Vietnam a toda la humanidad. Ningún cañón borrará el surco de tu arrozal, el derecho de vivir en paz.
I am just one of millions of Vietnamese and Southeast Asians from Laos, Cambodia, including Mien and Hmong people whose families have been torn apart by war. The after-dinner stories at my house were of bombs, a mother left dead with the baby still alive, crying on top of her. I am one of many people who have felt the impact of a genocide of 2 million Vietnamese people and an estimated 2 million people from Laos and Cambodia. I am but one of millions whose families came to the US as refugees and had to navigate racism, classism, and anti-immigrant sentiments. I am but one of millions who feel the impact of war long after war is over, including US veterans, our families suffering from the trauma of war, PTSD, the generational impact on our family relationships, the diseases that come from Agent Orange on our people and on the environment. In Vietnam and in Southeast Asia, they are still detonating and clearing landmines 50 years after the war, and now with no support from the US aid. I am one of millions of people who has felt deeply the impact of war with no admission of guilt from the US, no apology, no reparations, and still the US has continued to wage wars on Iraq, Afghanistan, and the US's complicit support of the genocide in Gaza. But we are here at this event, are also part of millions who want to see the end of war and US imperialism, a part of millions of people who believe in the self-determination of peoples from Vietnam to Palestine. I am one of a growing number of people that believe if we want to see an end to this imperialism, we have to be in a coordinated movement that aims to govern. That means we need people aligned with our values to run and win elected positions in this country. We need mass movements of people working outside elected office that are doing the hard work of organizing and building with the multiracial working class, to shift the political landscape, to make this vision of an end to war, an end to US imperialism, and justice and self-determination possible, including the return of land to indigenous people whose stolen land we are on today. And I believe that the work isn't over when we have more power in this country. We will have to get into the difficult work of governing, and that means taking risks, trying new things, learning lessons, and trying again and again to build a more equitable society. Vietnam has been doing this work for 50 years. It is no small feat to maintain peace and build a socialist project in a global capitalist world. There are lessons, challenges, and accomplishments. In 1978, Vietnam began economic reforms known as the socialist market economy, or Doi Moi. As it was told to me in Vietnam, at the time, people were all equal, but we were all equally poor. People were struggling, and there was a need to enter the market economy to boost production while working towards equity. The policy of the socialist market economy meant that the government owned staples like rice. The government-owned rice was in the marketplace alongside the corporate-owned rice. The government also stockpiled rice to make sure that there was enough rice for its people in case of shortages. We have shortages on important things that people need, like baby formula and diabetic medicine, but there is no regulation to prevent this shortage. Government rice is also sold at a lower price, so it's helping to regulate the market overall. During the pandemic in the US, we saw price gouging by corporations taking advantage of people in their time of need. Imagine a government that is working to protect its people, that is working to stop price gouging and defend people from corporate profits. Vietnam has been self-sufficient in food since 1989. There are many other accomplishments, including a literacy rate above 90%, the work of the grassroots to build gender equality by the Vietnam Women's Union with 19 million members today. There are opportunities of peaceful practice of religion that has been expanded. And in its constitution, Vietnam guarantees the preservation and teaching of national minority languages and cultures and proportional representation of minorities in the National Assembly. Of course, entering the global economy also brings challenges with the demand for from corporations for cheap labor. The Vietnam General Confederation of Labor is affiliated with the World Federation of Trade Unions. It plans to increase its membership to 13.5 million by 2030. In 2023, there were 285 wildcat strikes. Wildcat strikes are regularly occurring, and they are a way that workers wield their demands, and they usually win. Entering the global economy also brings consumerism and corruption, of which we should be very familiar with as our country is taken over by billionaire tech oligarchy. But in Vietnam, there is recognition of the need to counter and crack down on corruption and regulate the state sector. Vietnam this year faces a new challenge. Trump is imposing a punitive 46% tariff on goods produced by Vietnam. As a small country dealing with big countries, Vietnam has negotiated non-hostile relations with both the US and China, managing historical tensions. Under all these tensions and challenges, it's no small accomplishment that Vietnam celebrates peace and social progress. Another way of organizing society is possible, and it takes people who are willing to take risks, learn, change, and grow, all while maintaining a North Star of an equitable society. So I want to be a part of millions. I want to be a part of millions of people here in the US that do the hard work to build a better world, to end and heal from war, that works in solidarity with people fighting for self-determination and liberation internationally. And I invite you all to join in that. Thank you. And now I want to introduce my co-MC, who is an incredible leader, Bhairavi Desai, the executive director and founding member of a 28,000 member strong New York Taxi Worker Alliance. Thank you.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. That was so beautiful. I felt like such a beautiful love letter to the people of Vietnam and really to all the people of the good conscience of the world. I'm so honored to have a role in this incredible event. I'm going to keep it very brief and say, I think that for a lot of us that, grew up in the United States, the struggle of the Vietnamese people really, I think, was the main struggle that introduced many of us to a global fight against imperialism and to really believe in a movement, an anti-war movement, and the movement for justice and peace. The Vietnamese people and their achievements feel all the more inspiring and necessary in a moment like today. I think it's not lost on any of us that we stand here marking the 50th anniversary of a brutal war, an imperialist war, and a people struggle while we're living in times of tremendous threat and danger of global fascism, which is home at the moment in the United States in a way that most of us in our lifetime have never seen and experienced. It is a dangerous time, it's a terrifying time, and at moments it feels truly like a hopeless time. It's also a time where I think most of us wake up every single day and our first thought is really the ethnic cleansing and the genocide of our Palestinian brothers and sisters at the hands of Israel with the money and the backing of the US. And I think in these moments, we can look for no greater inspiration than the people of Vietnam, who stood down the war machine and found a way to victory. So I know for myself, when I think of today and I think of the people of Vietnam, throughout my life, since I was a child up to now, they are a people that are a source of such inspiration and of such hope. They are a reminder that the people can indeed fight back and we can win. And in these times when truly we have no choice but to fight back and win, we say to the people of Vietnam, we thank you for your courage, we thank you for your lessons and for your inspiration. And as someone who grew up in America, I was born in India. I have to say that the inspiration and the story of the Vietnamese people, the courage of the people and the triumph of the people, has truly inspired every single corner across this globe. I too, in my childhood, during conversations with my parents who were very deeply anti-imperialist, we often talked about the struggle of the Vietnamese people as the shining beacon of hope and light. I just want to say that also that the anti-war activists of America were truly inspiring for people like us, especially as an immigrant family. Seeing the civil rights movement, and many of those activists were deeply involved in the anti-war movement, particularly in the anti-Vietnam War movement, truly were a reminder that solidarity existed also in the US, and that there were people that were willing to fight for a US that was better, that was more just, and that was, that could also be a beacon of light. And so I think, today is a mark of a war, because war should not be forgotten. It is also a mark of solidarity and of the hope that solidarity can bring and of the triumph that solidarity can bring. And so we're so honored that today we will be hearing not only from our dignitaries and our leaders in the anti-imperial struggle of today, but also from many of our solidarity activists, including from real heroes of the anti-Vietnam War movement. And so with that, we're actually going to, I'm going to turn it back over to Claire as we begin our program. Thank you all so much for joining us today.